hours of the regular show on terrestrial radio, and you wanted a little bit more, so that's why you found the Gun Talk After Show podcast, where we saved all the best things that we can't say on regular radio. Now here's Tom, Michelle, and Jim for the Gun Talk After Show.
It's after show time. Got together here with just a few of my friends, and then we also have Jim and Michelle.
Oh, nice. Real nice, Tom.
Different category.
I just like to start off with an insult, might just get it out of the way.
Sure.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, we had a lot to talk about, but we have some folks on hold, so we want to take care of them. It would be rude to keep them on hold too long. Let's start with Neil on line 2 out of Tucson. Hey, Neil.
Hey, Tom. I was going to say one thing I appreciate about the after show is it's not broadcast nationwide, at least until the podcast is out.
I guess that's a good thing. I don't know.
Well, my question is I went hiking yesterday in the desert with a leather holster and a pistol, sweat all over it, and today I'm cleaning the rust off the slide. I wanted to see if you could address how to prevent that.
It is, I'm taking it's blued steel?
Yes.
Okay. What have you been using on it up to this point to protect the metal?
Well, I usually put the brake free on it.
Okay. Brake free is not really a good rust preventer. It's kind of one of those, does everything. It's a CLP, cleans, lubricates, penetrates, but it doesn't really protect against rust that well. Michelle, do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, so I know what we like to use is the Slip 2000 gun lube. It's heavy, it sticks well to the gun, and I think you'd get a lot better performance out of that. I mean, unfortunately, in the summertime, if you're going to carry a firearm, like with the body, you have to clean it frequently because of the salt.
You really do. You got to clean it a lot. And leather's worse because, of course, it's absorbing, holding on to the moisture, the salts and everything.
Right.
But, the Slip 2000 works. Any good... Brownells has a whole line of stuff. They have something called Polar Preventative Number 2. I think it ended up being Birchwood Casey Sheath, which is a really good metal protector. There are a lot of good, but what you want to find is something that's really made for protecting metal against rust. And once you get that stuff off, put it on, and then I'd make it, what do you think, Michelle, at least a weekly process of take the gun out and wipe it down real well?
I guess it depends on the conditions, right? I mean, depending on the area, you're going to have more sweat. You're going to have it be a bigger issue, or depending on the activity that you're taking part in. And obviously, with the hiking, it's more physical. But I would also throw out there, just putting it back into that holster could be a dangerous environment, too, without it drying out properly. So
that's a good point.
Having a couple of those same leather holsters to rotate through, or maybe going to a Kydex holster would help with some of that as well, because the moisture is going to be in the leather for quite some time until it dries out. So kind of like good leather boots, rotate them out, rotate out your holster.
That's a good point, because, the leather's going to absorb that. At the very least, overnight, take your gun out and leave it outside of the holster. Don't put it back in there. But, if sweat's a real issue, that's not a bad thought, Michelle, is going with Kydex. I think it could help a little bit.
Well, maybe I'll give that a try. Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck with it. And, if you're sweating on it every day, if you really are, then I would think you got to unload it and wipe it down and clean it every day. Michelle, Jim, it's one of the worst feelings in the world, and I've certainly done it, to pull a gun out and then find rust on it. God, I hate that.
Yeah, it makes you a little sad, doesn't it?
Well, it's sad and it's embarrassing, too,
right.
because you're thinking, I can't believe I let that happen.
You're trying to keep it in supreme condition, and it could be something as little as a face screw, just something that is easily, it's worked all the time and take down or whatever, and gets a little roughened up, and it's the first place to get the rust.
I think probably the real way to go is to just take the gun, keep it loaded, and just spray it until it's dripping with WD-40.
Sure.
Yeah, WD-40.
Sure. Yeah, WD-40.
Best thing for guns.
It's actually, I can't think of anything that it's actually good for. Well, if you need to penetrate into like a lock or something, WD-40 will work, but it should not be allowed to come within 10 feet of a firearm.
Well, isn't that how, like, when you take on water, instead of a bilge pump, you just use WD-40? If you use enough of it, it will displace the water. Okay, let's go to line one.
I think you should go with that. In fact, if your boat's got a leak in it, just spray the bottom of the boat with WD-40, right?
Exactly. Duh. Jeez.
Don't they make glue or something like that now for those?
I'm so done. Carlos, help me out here. I'm having trouble here with finding some logic. What are you doing, Carlos? Welcome to Gun Talk.
Tom, it's an honor to speak to you. I can tell you've got a little bit of an uprising going on, Randy, there.
I'm outnumbered.
I hear you. I have 870 Remington 12 gauge that I've hunted with for 40 years, and it's just been kind of a loyal friend and one of those things that I'm sure there's a lot of better guns out there to hunt with, but it's the one that he and I know each other. So anyway, I recently won in a raffle a Mossberg 835 turkey special, and I'm more of a turkey hunter on shotguns, and so this turkey gun has my interest. But Mossbergs have always had this reputation of being mule kickers, and this one has the and I've never shot a Mossberg, so I couldn't attest to that. But this one has the Matthews recoil arrestor built into the stock, which I thought was an intriguing thing. And so I'm faced with the dilemma of test firing the pattern on this new Mossberg to compare it to my old Remington, and the idea of, okay, do I want to diminish the value of this shotgun by firing it as opposed to just selling an extra gun that I have no use for? That is obviously, going to be fired if I test fire it.
Sure. Well, if you're thinking you might want to sell it, then I would say just go ahead and sell it. However, I think it's a really nice shotgun, and I think you're going to find that it actually is going to feel like less recoil than your trusty old 870. Now, having said that, I grew up with 870s, love 870s. I think the 870 is one of the best pointing shotguns ever made. And this is going to be different, not worse, just different. But if you're shooting for turkeys, now you're shooting it like a rifle, so it's not really for wing shooting, I take it. Right.
I've got some True Glow rifle sights on my old 870 that I keep on there for that reason, and I've played with a lot of chokes over the years and a lot of different loads, and found one that I really am impressed with. At 45, 50 yards, great pattern, and so I really was hearing about some new Winchester ammo. I wanted to try out some Copper 5 stuff, supposed to be super tight and all that. And I thought, well, I want to keep the gun that's going to give me the best pattern of these two. And if this Mossberg was not a mule kicker and gave it a better pattern. So it was just something I was scratching my head over.
Well, I would go shoot it. I would definitely shoot it. Shoot that 835. I think you're going to like it. And the other thing, it gives you another gun. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. It gives you larger shell selection. So if you ever decided to do anything else with it or jump into a 3.5-inch shell, you're limited on your Remington as well.
Sure.
That's true.
It occurs to me that if you're a little concerned about the recoil, here's what I would do. Here's an idea. Go out to the range and don't shoot them from the bench. If you can shoot them standing up, shoot the 870 first and then shoot the Mossberg. Just shoot them standing up, and you will be able to tell the difference there. I think you're going to find that the Mossberg is either equivalent or less recoil, and then that will give you the confidence to go get on a bench. Because I know what you mean. Shooting a heavy-kicking gun from the bench, wow, that's not fun.
Well, and I'll just throw out there, too, the Sims vibration system that they have is fantastic. I mean, it works well in the bow industry. They moved it over to, Mossberg wouldn't put this on their guns if they didn't find the benefit and didn't think it would be a benefit to their consumer. Right. So it does do a good job in reducing the recoil. I'll just throw that out there. Even just the singular pads that can be ground down and fit to your specific gun, they do a good job as well.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate that. That's great information. I've been leaning towards wanting to shoot it, but again, I guess I needed a little nudge to do that, and it's not like I'm just terrified over losing money if it had a shot fired through it. But
right.
It was just one of those experimental things I've not done much of as far as trying to compare guns because, like I said, the 870's always been loyal.
Consider yourself nudged.
Okie doke. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Carlos. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Michelle. That SIM system, man, that works. And until you shoot it, you just can't really appreciate it. You're thinking, yeah, I've seen these gimmicks come and go, but boy, the stuff they've come up with in the last few years just really works for reducing recoil.
It does. It works great. I mean, it does harmonic work. There's a lot that goes into
Harmonica work.
Harmonica. Oh, but the other thing is too, and people, I'm glad that he's taking his gun out now and patterning it first of all, right? Because that's something that a lot of people, I think, skip over the process of. But changing up choke tubes and changing the ammunition, even though he wants to use that copper-plated ammunition, it might work great in the Mossberg and not at all in the Remington, and that could be its demise.
Sure.
Where
one or the other could go the other way.
Yep.
But because we shoot turkey shotguns like rifles, you do have to go out and sight them in, check them. I was going to say not all shotguns. Actually, not many shotguns actually shoot to the exact point of aim. Even just looking down the barrel. And Brian Belinsky was telling me he checks these things all the time. And for wing shooting, he says, a lot of these guns are way off. And people are thinking, I'm just not a very good shot. He says, no, your gun just doesn't shoot where it's supposed to. And there's no way to know other than getting on a bench and trying it.
Right. You start close, start far away.
Start close.
Walk back.
I would start, with a shotgun, probably 20 yards. And you take 3 or 4 shots on probably like a piece of butcher paper or even a shoot and see. And you'll be able to see, is the pattern high, left, low, right? Where's the pattern hitting? And after 3 or 4 shots, you'll really be able to see where it is. And that's when I would just tell you, for turkeys, I think a red dot adjustable sight is the cat's pajamas, man. That is the way to go.
Hey, what's the recoil difference between 2 3/4 and 3? He said he's using 3s.
About a quarter.
About a quarter? Yeah, that's what I figured. I thought it was 2/8, but he says he's usually only 3 anyways. If he's recoil sensitive, is there any benefit to going back to 2 3/4?
A little, but not much. There are some 2 and 3/4 inch shells that are magnums that kick like a bear, and
gotcha.
And I kind of applaud him. I'm not a real fan of the 3.5 inch magnum shells.
Yeah. They have a lot of recoil. I mean, that's really where that recoil pad and stuff would be tested.
Yep. They kick a lot. And honestly, if you're only shooting out to 40 yards on turkeys, 2 3/4 will work just fine.
Why would you need that? Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
And I think people need to pay attention to drams as well, because that's the other part of the whole shell that makes the difference as far as what you feel and what you see.
The dram equivalent is basically it is the velocity. It's really what we're talking about. And a lot of ammo makers are now actually putting the velocity on the box. We used to have to try to decipher the English equivalent of dram's equivalent, and it was bizarre. But now you just say, well, if this load's going 1,400 feet per second and the other one's going 1,250, the 1,400 is going to kick more.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So there it is. All right, let's take a quick break. I want to come back. Let's talk. We had one of the more interesting calls today that we've ever had, and I want us to talk about that. We'll be right back.
Stand for the Second Amendment with Franklin Armory. Their 3-position BFS Gen 3 trigger is one of the hottest products for your AR, HK, ACR, CZ, and B&T in curved and straight variations. In position 3, fire 1 round on pull and 1 round on release. Ideal for both tactical and competition use. Get a 10% discount on everything with the code word GUNTALK at franklinarmory.com.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at shopguntalk.com. Get prepared. shopguntalk.com.
All right, guys, you both sat there and heard it. Now, Michelle, I don't know if you were on the phone or if you got to hear Patricia's call very much.
I tried to listen in as much as I could when she was in conversation.
It was fascinating. About 7 years ago, somebody breaks into her house. She ended up killing the guy. Shot. And what was interesting, thinking about it, was her description of how everything seemed odd and things didn't quite add up, and she wasn't sure that she had hit him, and then she thought he was getting into the car, but then she thought there's only one person in the car. And the whole time she's talking, Jim, I'm thinking, and that's why we don't answer questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
you're going to say something, they're going to say, well, that's not true, you're lying. I'm going, no, that's what I think is true, but you're just so overloaded by everything, you can't trust your memory of what happened. And that's really what she was describing.
Well, you could still hear, I think, to me, the fear, I guess, the adrenaline running through her even when she was sharing the story. So if you can imagine the intensity of the situation, and something had happened, from what I had heard, something had happened earlier in the evening that made her be alerted first off that something was going on, something wasn't quite right. Mm-hmm. And then calling the neighbors. So you're already on high alert in your own home. And then she actually did have somebody try to invade the house. But she said she felt they had all intent of killing her because there were several of them.
Right.
So there were people staged outside as well?
Apparently, yeah.
Sounds like
two more.
Two outside.
Oh.
Yeah. It's...
No, but gun people are all just paranoid. Nothing ever happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I also thought it was interesting, her description of talking to 911. What an interesting and aware person to say, because I know the 911 operator is just yammering away. You just want to say, just be quiet. Send the police, but just be quiet. I'm dealing with this right now. The person on the other end of the phone, it's like when you're a pilot, air traffic controllers are asking you questions during an emergency. You just need to say, just be quiet, I need to fly the plane. In this case, just be quiet, I need to handle this thing. Keep them coming, keep the police coming.
Right.
But you stay on the phone with me. But that way, that recording becomes part of the legal process too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how important is that? My goodness, there's not enough emphasis on that phone call.
Right. And in defense of the 911 operators, they're trained to do their job a certain way, and they can't be trained in every potential situation. So
I understand, yeah. But you are on the scene, and you need to be able to say, all right, I need you to stop talking now. Mm-hmm. Or, as I know some people have done, they just put the phone down. Don't hang up, but just put the phone down. So I'm not talking. And they can hear what's going on in the room, but I can't have you talking to me in my head. I'm just trying to process this information as best I can anyway.
When she had no way out of her home.
Right. And I get it. The operator saying, you just leave the home. Just leave the home. Well,
you can jump out the window. She doesn't know what's going on outside.
Right. And it turns out there were two people outside.
Exactly.
So in that case, probably leaving the home may not have been the best course of action. Right. She was left with no good options, really.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I could hear it, Michelle. It was almost cathartic. She was just disgorging all this information she wanted to tell somebody.
It's fascinating in a way to hear those accounts because you can learn so much from them. One, she didn't have a gun ready in the home. It was underneath the bed or whatever. Luckily, she was in her bedroom when this was all going down, because they could have a completely different, obviously, outcome to the story.
Yeah, see, in your preparedness, I go a different direction. Why doesn't she have cameras outside her house?
Well,
it's not a gun defense thing, but it's still
one more line of defense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, she had the dog that alerted her.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The non-WD-40 door.
Right. Yep. That was actually pretty astute. That was sharp.
Yes, it was.
Says, do not put WD-40 on the hinges there. I want them to squeak. I want them to make noise when somebody comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That was smart.
It gives me goosebumps.
It's right out of a horror movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't mess with a Marine.
Don't mess with a Marine, Just they're trained up, to use the firearm, but also just trained up mentally.
Well, and that's knowing your surroundings. She had a fish tank, otherwise she'd have had no source of light.
Yep.
There's just so much. There's just so much to that.
So much you can learn from that. Well, I go back to, and I'm really going to go ahead and make the commitment. I just have it. You get it set in your ways. And I've always carried what I carry, and I have my system. And the idea of putting a weapon-mounted light on my carry pistol or on my home defense pistol, it's just a change. It's a whole, I got to get new holsters, I got to get new stuff, more stuff.
Yep.
And yet, we've done so many of these first-person defender shows now, and we've seen things that happen, and you get into low light. You need a light, and yeah, I always carry a flashlight in my pocket. I've always got my tactical light, my flash in my pocket. But if I have to draw quickly, I'm not going to be drawing with one hand and drawing a flashlight out of my pocket with the other hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pulling the pistol out and going to a two-hand grip, and if I've got the light on the gun, I can flip the switch on as it comes up, and now I have the light on.
What do you think, Tom, of these smart homes? I mean, now you can have sensors hooked up or give commands for lights to be turned on. Change the situation when you're at home?
Well, I've had that for 20 or 30 years. I mean, we call it the clapper.
I think they've updated something since
Oh, have
then.
they?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Huh.
I don't think you have to clap anymore when somebody comes into your home.
Okay. There's a place for it. I can see it. I do, man, I tell you, motion sensor lights outside are such a simple, easy thing.
There, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just discovered something I did not know, and maybe everybody else already knew this. You know, we know about motion sensor, motion detection light fixtures. Did you know they have motion sensor light bulbs that you could just screw into a regular socket?
Yeah,
and the sensor's built into the bulb?
A buddy of mine in Idaho has those in his garage. It's the first time I've ever seen them. They're really, you should see them, Tom. They're great.
That's a great idea. That's right. That's right. I remember showing you those. That's cool, isn't it?
It is cool because you think, I got to buy a socket and then use any bulb.
Yeah,
but
you
not
just
anymore.
stick them in a garage or stick them wherever, and then
Anywhere,
now you have motion detector lights. And if there's nothing like a lot of light coming on when somebody tries to sneak into your house. The other thing I'm going to do, and this is just a personal deal I'll share with you, is we have some landscaping in front of our house, and it's grown up high.
Yes, I was
And we trim it down, but it's gotten real full. And you could hide, like both sides of a football game, both teams back there, and they're all going to come out. And it's a lot of money's worth of landscaping. I'm going to yank it all out and put in little low shrubs where you can see the house and nobody can hide back there.
highly recommended. The other thing is to know your yard, know the shadows that get thrown with different lights that come on. Too, because the different trees and like you say, the shrubbery. Get
a blink camera. Get a couple cameras too. Something going on outside. You don't have to call your neighbors like she did.
Well,
and it was a few years back. I realized.
And I will tell you, you have your phone next to your bed, and I'm not. Yeah, I know they advertise on the show, but I am also a customer, and I've got my Blink app. I was looking at it yesterday. If somebody walks up to your house and you got your Blink camera up there, you get a motion detection alert on your phone, and you get a notification with whatever sound you've got set up for notifications, and bloop, and then you can just punch in and you can look outside with, from your bedroom and see what's going on. I think it's a great idea, Jim.
Yep.
But I think we've probably touched on it before, but having like a safe room in your house and being prepared with keys and being able to know that for sure it's an officer standing out the door when they're banging on the door saying, "Let me in, I'm an officer," you can come to such and such a room and I'll hand you the keys. And if you can identify the fact that that's who they are, I mean,
It's troublesome because some of the home invasion guys now are coming in wearing jackets that say police on them.
Yep.
It's a problem. And so, one of the things you can do, just a thought, is call 911.
Do you have police?
Say, yeah, exactly. There are people out here who are claiming to be police. Are there really police officers at my house? And you can even yell at the door, say, what department are you with? And, say, all right, 911, they say they're with this. And if they say, yeah, they're really there. Say, okay, cool. Tell them I'll be right out.
Right. Yeah, because what would there was like a teenage boy, wasn't there, out in Las Vegas or somewhere out in the area that just got arrested for impersonating. Yeah. And then there was one other, I think it was an adult male. But, it's happening.
Yep, exactly.
Those are the only ones that caught.
Let's take another quick break. We'll be right back.
It's really pretty simple. Your carry gun is a life-saving device. It must be with you. That's what the Springfield Armory XDS is all about. Small enough to carry, big enough to shoot comfortably, shockingly slim, single stack. with a 3.3-inch or 4-inch barrel, available in 9, 40, or 45. Highly accurate, great trigger, fiber optic front sight for fast aimed fire. The XDS at Springfield-Armory.com. That's Springfield-Armory.com.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Battle Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
Michelle, you're talking about people impersonating police officers. He just arrested a teenager who broke into an airport and got onto a small regional jet airliner trying to start it up to take it because he wanted to go to a concert somewhere.
What?
What? This is not going to work out well. Oh, man.
No problem there. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, I was just heard a report today, actually, about somebody that had broken into this person's home and they had no signs outside of the fact that their house had been broken into, came in through the garage, whatever, kind of noticed things being amuck and found this person sleeping on their couch. Mm-hmm. And all that he could come up with was the fact that $140 had been stolen from him, but the man was sleeping on his couch and wouldn't leave the home.
Wouldn't leave.
Wouldn't leave.
Should make his arrest a hell of a lot easier.
Like, what?
So, well, all right, well, you just stay right there. I'm going to call some friends. They're going to come over and put little bracelets on you.
I don't know.
Well,
Wi-Fi passwords? I don't know. Your couch is that comfy?
I think you have to assume, from just a security standpoint, if there's someone in your home who you don't know, that person is a threat. It doesn't mean you have to shoot that person. But I think you have to assume that person's a threat and take whatever action is necessary to protect yourself and others, of getting distance, maybe getting your gun out, of getting something between you and that person until you can work it out. The other thing is, kind of to this scenario that you're talking about, Michelle, is if you walk into your house and something doesn't seem right, stop, turn around, and leave the house.
Mm-hmm. Make your call.
Make the call. The police are not offended if you say, look, something doesn't feel right about this. They will come in and they'll go into the house with you. They do it all the time. That's part of what they do. They're happy to do that.
Makes for a lousy horror movie, though, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole deal. Is, don't you find yourself with these horror movies thinking, well, it's like, what was it, a Geico commercial,
Yeah.
Just get in the running car and drive away. No, let's go hide in the room with all the chainsaws.
Right. Go figure.
It's just so many times you're going, yeah, that's just stupid. Okay.
I actually had back in the day, I had two events at the former studio where the sheriff responded. And one time he would not let me go in with him.
Ah.
And then on the next call, the sheriff not only let me go in with him drawn, he made me go first.
With your gun out?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, he wanted me in there first so I wouldn't be behind him, I think is what it was.
Well, no,
or I draw fire.
He's got a human shield.
Yeah, well, that too.
But no, actually, it's because he doesn't know you, and he wants that gun out there where he can see it.
Right. That's kind of what I figured.
And you would know the studio.
I'm surprised as all get out that he would have you have your gun out, though.
Yeah, the first one said, no way, stay in your car. And the second one said, yeah, but you're going ahead of me. Said, okay.
Yeah,
which was kind of weird for me.
Is it because you would know the studio layout, perhaps?
Part of that, but I think most of it's so he knows that the muzzle's and it's safe for him at least.
Right.
And the guys behind him. That's what I figured, but, it was kind of weird.
Huh. Interesting. Well, we've had the old alarm system glitches at our business. Mm-hmm. I had to drive over in the middle of the night, meet the police officer, and, obviously I'm always carrying. Mm-hmm. And I have mentioned it to them a couple of times, and it's kind of like, okay, but that's about all you ever got. It's fine. And then we just go in. I open the door, and we go in together, and we look around, and then we leave because, 99 out of 100 times it's going to be,
a mouse or something. Yeah.
A mouse or something fell off a shelf or something, whatever. But, when you've got, all the television production gear we have, we like to check it because somebody could decide to pull that gear, that kind of thing. So anyway,
It's always your stuff. You have the right to defend it.
That's it. So this guy says he found a .327 Federal Henry repeating arms lever action.
Wow, they make one of those.
And he hesitated, no less.
I noticed he did not tell us where it was. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he's no dummy.
I did like the fact that you told him to run back.
Run, do not walk. Are they open on Sundays? Go right now.
And those,
people
red
do
lights.
that. How many times have you seen that, Michelle? Somebody says, well, yeah, I'll think about it. And they come back and it's already been sold. And you're going,
Absolutely. Not just on used guns. It happens on new guns.
Right.
And you would think that they're just out there readily available. Not always.
No, the thing I was telling Tom a couple weeks back, a buddy of mine was up at the big box store up in Dundee. And between 9 and o'clock in the morning and noon, they sold 18 of the P365s. 18, everything they had in stock. So, somebody was hesitating at 9:30. Well, I'll go get a cup of coffee and think about it, come back. No.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, remember, was it 3-4 years ago when if you found ammo in a store, you just bought it? It didn't matter if you have a gun for it.
Right.
Just buy it later.
If I could buy a case of ammo, I'd go find a gun for it.
Yeah.
You can change out this barrel and put that on that
That's
receiver.
right.
And
Good to go.
Exactly. Yeah. A friend of mine says, I was already out the door with a case of 223, and I realized, I don't have a gun that'll shoot this.
just got caught up in the excitement.
Exactly.
I got to have it.
I got to have it. Everybody else is grabbing it. I got to get some.
It's brass. It's not gold.
God. Oh, I saw something recently. 22 ammo is not only available, but the prices have come down significantly, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's out there.
Yeah.
You can find all different kinds of flavors right now, I believe.
I think the thing to do, though, is wait until there's another crash and then buy it.
Well, yeah.
There's no point in buying it now when it's cheap and available.
I was going to say, it makes for less grumbling.
Anybody
but,
could do that, Tom.
Yeah, really.
It wouldn't be nearly as much fun if you couldn't complain about it.
Right. And by the way, hats off to your store for not gouging people when there was a shortage, because so many places did that.
Absolutely. Thank you. We don't believe in doing that. Not taking advantage. We did have to limit the number of boxes that could be sold to a person, but I think once we explained to, the people that it's like, it gives everybody an opportunity. Just because I got 10 boxes in, you can't have them all.
Right.
But
and I thought the price, you had $600 for a brick of 22 was fair.
I didn't see any problem with that.
No.
No, that will limit it, that's for sure.
You can only buy one box. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I'm good. He says, I'm good. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
No, there's some stores and gun shows. There's people that took advantage of that. But, that's not the way we live. That's just taking advantage.
Was it the Cheaper Than Dirt mail order place that jacked the magazines up to $100, AR mags?
Right.
There are a lot of people that still will not do business with them. And I don't mind using their name. I don't care.
Wasn't Cheaper Than Dirt.
Wasn't?
Not at that price.
Yeah, it was expensive as something, yeah. Okay.
A different four-letter word.
Yeah, okay.
I's and T's in it. Yeah.
Something there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So my deal this week, I just got to have a day when it's not thunderstorming, and I've got to take this rifle out. I'm excited about this little suppressed 1022.
It'd be nice and quiet.
It'll be nice and quiet. Now, of course, you think, but now I need a bunch more of those, what they call the BX-25 Ruger magazines.
Right.
Got to have some of those.
Getting trigger job?
And let's see.
Popping in the trigger?
That's right. Timney's got a new trigger, a replacement trigger for it. Ruger's got a replacement, and Timney's got them, so I have replacement trigger possibilities there. And
But you're starting on a platform that's not tried and true. Why would you go with something that avant-garde?
Yeah, right. God, I do love the 1022.
How many have they made? 10 million of them? 5 million of them?
It's got to be 10 million, don't you think?
It's got to be up there.
You could probably search that, and it'd probably come up with I'm sure they had a celebration of something.
Way too much like work. I'd just rather ask somebody.
Well, don't get paid for what you do.
Take their answer as gospel and just tell everybody else what it is.
Right. That's how many
He's looking it up. I love it.
1022 rifles.
It's going to come back. A bunch. A dirt load.
Got the anniversary models, 1022, yada, yada, yada. We can go to Wikipedia. That's never wrong.
Close to 10 mil. Five easy.
That's a gun that everybody should have within their safe. Yeah. It's just so much fun.
And
so
the
reliable.
takedown is so cool.
backpack.
I love the takedown.
Yep.
They got, I'm looking, I didn't know, you keep finding different versions. They have all these different versions, and some of them are only available through certain distributors.
Right. Colors or,
Exclusives and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and the guys at I was just looking, Lipsy's down here in Baton Rouge, they have a couple of Ruger #1 exclusives. God, those things are gorgeous.
Oh, what do you want, Tom? I'll get one for you and just send it down to you. Yeah.
Thank you. That's nice. I could drive an hour over there and get one, or you could get it up in Ohio.
It'd be far better that way.
It'd be more better. That's right.
Far being the...
Far better. Exactly. I like that. I have one Ruger. No, take it back. I have two Ruger #1s. I have one that I got from Dad. It's a 7x57 with the Alex Henry forearm, the little fun little short version. And then I have a 257 Roberts.
Use it for hunting?
I've never shot the 257. It's still in the box. The other one, I wanted to replace the scope on it. Dad had a scope on it that was, I thought, too big for that little gun. It doesn't look like it's proportional. But a little single-shot 7x57 would be a pretty nice little hunting rifle.
Right? Well, the technology that they have in the scopes nowadays, you hate to get rid of some of the classics, but like my son says, why wouldn't you?
Yes. No, I know exactly what you mean. You're looking at what's available, and I look at some of these new SIG scopes they have. You're just going, man, that stuff's cutting edge. And they can make a smaller, compact scope that is really high quality.
It's amazing.
So, yeah, it is.
And the answer is 5 million. Over 5 million 1022s have been made.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So there you have it.
Mr. Wizard has struck again.
Something like that.
Well, he worked. You have to look
So
it
today
up.
was the day, huh?
Yeah. But I'm a union guy, so I'm punching out now.
Oh, okay. Good deal. Don't you like the story about the air traffic controllers in Reagan?
Yeah, that's great. What are you going to do, fire us?
You can't fire us all, can he? Yeah, right. 13. Well, I think 11,345
right.
you sold.
It was like 1,600 got wise and went back to work.
Yeah, about 1,300 of them went back to work out of 13,000. And he gave them 48 hours, and he said, you're done, and you'll never be able to work in the federal system again. Because it was in their contract, I swear that I will not strike against the federal government, yada, yada. I mean, they had to sign this deal, and then they all said, I'll just blow that off. Reagan really wasn't that kind of guy who you could just go, yeah, I know I swore that I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And you'll be okay with that, right?
Yeah, well, on the upside, all the floors were really shiny afterwards because they hired a bunch of janitors that couldn't get air traffic controller gigs anymore.
Yeah, who knows?
We could use somebody in maintenance.
Yeah, sure. So, let's see. New guns. What's going on in new guns? I am seeing, seems like interest in 22s. And one of the guns that just has recurring interest is that Keltec PMR 30. That's a surprising gun for people who've never handled one because it's not a small gun. When you pick it up, it is light as air.
And hard to find.
But you can get ammo
So
for it.
don't hesitate. If you find one of those and you think you want one, take it.
That's one that shouldn't be hard to find because they've been making that for more than 20 years now.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
I know. They're weird. Where do you keep yours?
In a showcase, preferably, but we don't always have them.
When you have one that's not hard to find, you'll sell it, right?
Right. Oh, my goodness.
I did have a good gun buying experience a couple weeks back. I forgot to tell you about, Tom.
Eh?
It was so cool walking into my local Cleveland's Outdoor World and buying a gun without having to get the 4473 run and background checked and everything else because they now in Ohio for a while now they've been recognizing a CCW permit if it's been issued in the past 5 years, I think.
Yeah, since
something 50. Like that. Yeah, so it was kind of cool because I expect fill out all the paperwork still.
Right.
But I'm like, okay, it's going to be about 10-15 minutes. I'll go drink heavily in the parking lot or something.
Oh my goodness!
I said I'll wait. I'll walk around the store and see what's going on. And they're no, we don't have to run it. You got a valid CCW.
Yeah. Boom. Here it is.
He questioned it when he saw the picture on there, but.
It is a scary picture. Oh, gosh. Sir, this does not match your driver's license.
Actually, this doesn't match anything human. It's Sasquatch.
Nice.
Did you have the big hair that day?
Big hair and big eyes. I did the big eye
Big
look.
eyes.
You did the Marty Feldman big eye thing?
Yeah, exactly. I do that on my driver's license, too.
Oh, my God. It's amazing that they'll even issue it.
Well,
to
they
you.
argue, yeah, but the bottom line is you're paying for that picture. It's your picture. If you stand your ground, they will cave.
Yeah, except that now, I think U.S. is like the last country where you can have a passport where you're smiling in your photo, and they will not allow that anymore.
Yeah, I did hear that.
You cannot smile because it messes up the facial recognition system.
Can you frown?
I don't know. I don't think you can do any of that. And I think we're probably going to go to that in driver's licenses at some point.
Well, the way I get around that at the driver's license bureau, I just walk in with my eyes hyperextended and sit there for 5
That's
minutes
normal.
waiting for the, yeah. That way when you walk up, they're afraid to say, sir, you can't do that. Do what? What are you talking about?
Of course, if it's a regular DMV, you could be there like for 6 hours trying to do that.
Well, I pull my hat down.
You still have to take the eye exam. Doesn't that mess with things?
Good point. Thank God they can't see your eyes while you're doing it.
Okay, have you guys? We're so far off; it doesn't matter now.
Right.
The movie Zootopia, animated movie. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't, it sounds stupid, but you need to watch it because there's one scene that's worth watching. It's when they're in the DMV.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yes, you need to go see that. It's just
Okay.
it's hilarious. Okay, and with that, we're going to sloth our way out of here.
Oh, nice segue.
Okay, I don't really like segues. They look dangerous.
I agreed. Far too many Band-Aids needed.
Yeah, really. Just
Casts, something.
just go ahead and give me like several ace bandages. I'll wrap up before I start.
Those Charmin commercials where the kids used to wrap themselves and all those Charmin before they got in trouble. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not as old as either of you two.
Right? You
Yeah.
don't remember that.
Okay. You guys have a good week.
All right, Tom.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, that wraps up another Gun Talk after show. But if you want even more gun-related stuff, don't forget to check out Gun Dealio. It's the app for Apple and Android phones that connects you to all the Gun Talk shows, plus even more. And we'll catch you next time for the Gun Talk after show.